So far, everything we have done was supervised learning. We looked at regression models, classification, and those are all models where I have labeled data. So the label is what we also sometimes call the response variable. So you have one response variable y, and I have a number of predictors here x1 to xp. So what is very important as well is that someone has to have provided the labels to the data. Imagine I want to do some image classification from the web. Someone must have labeled the data to say this image contains a dog, this image contains a cat, and obviously this might be a problem. Maybe I have a lot of images but no one labeled the data, and this is really where unsupervised learning comes in. So it might be very important if you have a lot of data and sometimes you do not have the resources to label it, to find some structure in the data without having labels. And so this is what we do in unsupervised learning. We really have the unlabeled data where now I have just the predictors and no response variable, and I really want to figure out something about the data, some structure, and as I said, dimensional reduction as well as clustering are some very common techniques of unsupervised learning, and we will discuss them in the following. Also, as a little side remark, there's also something in between which we could call semi-supervised learning, which is a way where actually I could have some combination of unsupervised learning and supervised learning. Say I could maybe do some clustering and I have one label for the cluster and I can propagate this label over. So there are some techniques of combining the two, which can be very useful if I have limited labeled data, because sometimes in practice, as you can see in some of your social science applications, it often costs money to label data. You might have to use, say, crowdsourcing to get different people to look at images and classify them, and not always are those people very good in doing it, and also it costs considerably amount of money. So sometimes we want to use some tricks where we can maybe propagate some of the labels over to other data, and this is a kind of intermediate regime of semi-supervised learning. I will not really cover it in the course, I just wanted to make you aware of it as it might relate to some of the work you will be doing in your research project.